bet you many of you have never heard the name of Sydney Corcoran. She is a Boston bombing survivor. She was right in the area of one of the explosions, and she had several pieces of shrapnel go into her body and scar her body, and one of them even severing her femoral artery, which nearly killed her. But she is a survivor, and she has had many struggles in her life. But the reason that she is so interesting and why I started off with her is because she copes with her the traumatizing scene of that by getting tattoos to cover her scars. She quoted, "The tattoos tell a story. With my actual scars from the bombing, I didn't have a choice of how I wanted my body to look. By getting tattoos, I am marking my body the way I want. I love expressing myself." So all of you have at least seen tattoos on somebody, and whether you agree with them or not, like, say you don't agree with them, you've asked, why do they have a tattoo? Like, who tattoos their body? Why would they want to scar their body like that? So all of you at least seen them, or you might even have one. I have 3, along with a lot of my friends, and then my dad even has one in memory of his father. My other sources are the Boston Globe, which is where the story comes from about Sydney Corcoran, and there was another website of USA Today on tattoos in the workplace and how it's becoming more relevant in today's society. I'm not trying to persuade you to get tattoos or anything like that, or even like them, but I am trying to persuade you on how to view tattoos or how to view people who do have tattoos and get to know them. Like, they tell a story. They are a way to express yourself. So if you see someone with a tattoo, more than likely, especially in today's society, it has a meaning behind it. So go up and ask them, what does your tattoo mean? And I guarantee you'll see a deeper meaning and get to know their personality a lot more. So I told you a little bit about Sydney, but I'm going to show you a little bit about her tattoos along with other tattoos and what they could mean. So she got this lion, and she said, "The lion represents strength and courage. It is really meaningful to me, and I draw strength from that tattoo." So she got this because she went through a very traumatic experience. She needs strength. She needs to be able to know that she can go on with her day, and her way of tattoo is, if I see this every day on my body, I know that I can overcome anything. Her next one is a woman crying. She said, "The woman crying represents the sorrow and the hardships that her family has been through. The tears flow down and turn into flowers, and it represents the good things coming out of our sorrows." So, I mean, it's just a very art-type way to express your feelings. This one says, it says, "I have been seeing a therapist for a while, and I was in a dark place. I was suicidal. My therapist said it's your choice. She really told me that you have to choose to live. I look at it all the time." So she has choose to live. So it says that she was suicidal and that she was in a very dark place. So she got choose to live because that's her daily reminder that she's in a better place now, everything will get better, and that she has to choose to live. It's her daily reminder. And then the last one, she has several more, but these are the main ones that I wanted to go on. You can see right here, this is part of one of her scars. She ended up covering it. She said, "On my leg, I have the sun, and on the other, I have the moon. They remind me to keep myself grounded and balanced. The sun tattoo covers a 2-inch scar from the shrapnel." Along with my tattoos, I have a cross on my ankle because I have not had the strongest faith with Christ, and that, just like her choose to live, it is my daily reminder to seek Christ and know that He is always with me. Along with, I have a feather on my side, and it stands for Psalm 91:3, and it stands for, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge." And then the last one I have is on my side where my vitiligo begins, which is my skin discoloration. And it says, "Love your flaws," because for a long time, especially through middle school, I struggled with loving myself the way God made me. So love your flaws is my daily reminder that I am made perfectly the way I am. Now that I have explained some of the ways that tattoos can be interpreted and how they can have a meaning and be used in a very useful way, I'm going to explain that not all tattoos are appropriate, and I completely agree that not every tattoo is a good tattoo. Such as ones with inappropriate meanings or gang signs or derogatory, like tattoos got their bad name because of back in the old days it used to be for gang signs or mean something of derogatory means or anything like that. So, but that's the only people that really used to get tattoos. So that's why the older generations, more older people don't like tattoos because they only saw what they saw back then. But now tattoos are becoming and having a whole different meaning to the world, and it's helping a lot of people with their lives, such as her choosing to live. Finally, I want to talk about what the Bible says about tattoos. This is Leviticus 19:28. It says, "Do not cut your bodies for the dead or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord." I have had heard preachers preach about this. The whole key to this verse is it says "for the dead," because back then they used to tattoo on their body to keep the spirits alive of the dead. So that's when tattoo considered in the Bible is inappropriate. It's because it was used in a way, instead of letting their spirits go to heaven or hell, they tried to keep them in an earthly realm. Also, there is this, so if you want to say, but it still says don't tattoo your body, it says, "Do not eat any meat with blood still in it. Do not cut the hair on the sides of your head or clip the edges of your beard." It kind of means the same thing. It says don't tattoo your bodies, but most of the men in here are clean shaved. All of us have trimmed our hair. So it kind of falls into the same category. Finally, in Revelations 19:16, it doesn't exactly say that he has a tattoo, but there's a lot of kind of searching into this on whether he did. It said on his robe and on his thigh he has the name written, King of Kings and Lords of Lords. On his thigh it is written. So there's a lot of kind of back and forth on whether it was actually a tattoo or not, but I just thought it was interesting because there's a possibility that Jesus could have had a tattoo on his thigh. So in conclusion, I've gone over why tattoos are becoming more common in today's society and when they can be considered inappropriate and what the Bible has to say about tattoos. So I hope that I have changed your mindset a little bit on if you see someone tattoos, whether you agree with them or not, you can understand that most of the time, especially around here in this area too, it's mostly for a personal type thing. It's not necessarily to be like, oh, I have tattoos. It's more for a personal experience that they went through and a way to cope with it. So think about it this way. Think of something that helps you cope with your sadness or your anger or anything like that, and what if it was constantly being judged? What if, it could be, but how would you feel if everything you did was constantly being judged? So that's why I challenge you, if you see someone with tattoos, just go up and ask them and ask what their tattoo means and see if you can get to know them a little more, because nobody likes to be judged on what makes them happy.
Do you like sleeping in? Do you like doing your homework in your bed? What about outside? What about having no homework at all? Or homework even being a word that you would even use. Wouldn't it be nice to have an education that works around your schedule instead of the other way around? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then you probably would have made a good homeschooler. Education is a vital part of our society, and we all had to go through school, whether it be public, private, or at home. In my case, it was at home. I was homeschooled my whole life, so therefore I have personal experience as a homeschooler. My mom also had experience as a teacher, teaching both me and my brother for even longer than I was in school. So I also got her input on this subject. I also checked with the National Home Education Research Institute, that's a mouthful. The Peabody Journal of Education, which is a collection of quarterly essays covering all kinds of education. And the Fort Wayne Area Homeschoolers, which is the basically the de facto homeschool authority in my hometown of Fort Wayne. And got their input as well. So today I'm going to show you an inside look on the life of the elusive homeschooler. And I'll begin by explaining what it is and then I'll go over some history of it. And then finally I'll look at the arguments for and against it. So what is it? Well, homeschooling is exactly what it sounds like. It's school at home. It's really not that hard to understand. Students are usually taught by their parents, sometimes by other parents, but usually the parents have children that are also being homeschooled. They learn mostly the same things as private or public school children, so math, history, science. They just have the unique ability to do it at their own pace, however. So I know for me, in my history, a lot of the times we wanted to go out on a weekend or do something, or maybe spend a week doing a extended vacation, I just did all my school ahead of time. So I had that ability, and you don't always get that flexibility as a public schooler. They also typically change up their curriculum to better suit their worldview or their learning style. So if someone's a more visual learner, they might get more examples. Or if they're maybe they don't believe in the Big Bang, they might look at it from a creationist standpoint. I know some private schools do that as well, but homeschoolers have the unique ability to do that however they see fit. The National Home Education Research Institute claims that homeschooling may be the fastest growing form of education. It's also gained popularity in many other countries. France, Australia, and Kenya are among the top three. There is no one type of homeschooling, just like there's no one type of public school. Some people take homeschooling in their house just by themselves, and then some people are in huge co-op groups with hundreds of other homeschoolers. So homeschooling as we know it today is actually fairly new. We've been taught in classrooms for centuries as a country in the U.S., but homeschooling only up until recently is fairly new. So why is this the case? Why is homeschooling becoming so popular all of a sudden? Well, to understand this, we have to look at the past. So according to the Peabody Journal of Education, modern homeschooling began around 1970. Even before this, however, really the only way for people or children to learn anything outside of the classroom was in their home. And before the government instituted public schools, that was really the only way that it could be done. Homeschooling as we know it began for religious reasons. Essentially, people were not, they didn't believe that the public school system was compatible with their beliefs, and they decided to make their own form of education at home and do it as they saw fit. So in doing this, the government had to give in eventually. So in the 1980s, it became a legitimate form of education. That's why essentially homeschooling has become so popular so suddenly, is because it gives parents that much input on their children's education. And despite the apparent success of it, however, there are still some that argue against it. There's a few points that they have, and I'll cover a few of those. So one of the biggest arguments against homeschooling is that children won't develop socially. They'll have problems making friends or talking to strangers or forming relationships. But this really isn't true. There's countless antisocial kids in public schools. I'm sure if you've gone to a public school, you've seen a few of them around. They never really talk to anyone. I know there's even really extroverted homeschoolers. There's one on my hall. He's the biggest extrovert I've ever met, but he was homeschooled. So it kind of goes against the idea, the stereotype. So really that depends on the person rather than the practice. So another really popular argument against it is that there's no graduation ceremony. Many people believe that homeschoolers graduate with a GED, just finishing their school and being done there rather than receiving a diploma. But this is also untrue. In many cases, homeschoolers have the option to have a graduation ceremony. At mine, I graduated alongside a bunch of other homeschoolers. This was hosted by the Fort Wayne Area Homeschoolers Association. And I'm right there, that's me. I have a hat. And we each got to choose our own robe colors based on what we said that our school colors were for our home. Yes. And then my parents actually gave me my diploma, which thank you. It is a legitimate diploma, and it kind of signifies the culmination of everything I've done as a homeschooler. It's a really positive way to look at all the work over these years hasn't been wasted, essentially. So another argument against homeschooling is that there's no extracurricular activities like sports or band, but this is also untrue. The only problem with it is you might have to look a little bit harder to find it. It's not going to be in your house. So you have to kind of go out of your way to do it. But there are, in our state, many extracurricular activities. This is a soccer team based in Fort Wayne. A few of my friends play on them. I know a few of those guys really well. But there's also basketball, volleyball, tennis, swimming, cheerleading, gymnastics, football, and more. It's just, you have to go out of your way to find them. And if you do, there's some really good homeschool teams out there. They actually go up against public schools as well, so that's a really interesting thing. So as you can see, despite the arguments against it, homeschooling offers all kinds of benefits. But is it really a viable academic option? Are the kids learning things? Well, according to the National Home Education Research Institute, homeschoolers scored higher on average than their public school peers on the SAT. Many people believe that this is because the homeschoolers have the ability to change what they're learning to better suit their learning styles. They're understanding it better because they're being taught in methods they understand. And many people believe that's the reason, that's why the homeschoolers are scoring better on these tests. So despite many of these benefits, I do recognize that homeschooling isn't for everyone. Maybe both the parents are working, or they're unavailable, or the child prefers a public school setting, and that's perfectly normal. It should ultimately be the child's choice of where they want to learn, because ultimately that's what it is about, is the child's development. So as a homeschooler myself, I was able to take part in athletics, co-op groups, field trips by homeschoolers, and more. And while being taught in a way that fit my personal learning style and at a pace I was comfortable with. It really benefited me in lots of ways. God wants us to teach others, especially our children. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Start children off in the way they should go, and even when they are old, they shall not turn from it." Thankfully, my parents took this verse very literally, and I'm beyond thankful for the many opportunities I've been given. So I hope I was able to show you a side of homeschooling you may not have seen before. And I look forward to joining with you in support of homeschooling in the future. In doing this, we're able to further the next generation and really help them reach their full potential.
So we just got back from Thanksgiving break, and I'm sure the food that you all had was great. Nothing beats coming home to a home-cooked meal. But imagine, what if you came home expecting turkey, ham, cranberry salad and stuffing, and all the good things that come with Thanksgiving. But instead, you walk through the door and you see a bag of McDonald's just sitting on the table. A Big Mac that's cold and soggy just sits there waiting in the bag. This would be one of the worst Thanksgiving meals in general. Well, this is a description of where our nation is heading when it comes to food. This is why I believe that the topic of cooking should be more emphasized within our school systems. Considering that eating is a necessary part of life, and we as adults need to know how to cook for ourselves and others. With our fast-paced society, a home-cooked meal will soon become a luxury rather than a norm. This used to be the case for eating out, but now it's completely switched. Not only is the food that we eat not only that, but the food that we eat has a major impact on the way of our life. And we as independent adults should not rely on fast food as our main source of fuel. My information comes from 3 articles. One is from the New York Times, which published an essay by Helen Zoeviet, who is a PhD in American history from Yale. The second article is a blog post from a guy who elaborated on some statistics put out by the New York Times. And the last one is from a scientific journal, the Journal of Marriage and Family, where they tested to see if there's a correlation between family dinners and adolescent health. So today, I would like to tell you why I believe that cooking should be a bigger part of our education system. First, cooking at home allows us to control the contents that we eat. Second, cooking at home is cheaper in comparison to the other options. And lastly, cooking at home promotes family bonding. So first, we can control what goes in our bodies when we make food for ourselves rather than letting others make it for us. Most fast food chains that we see on a daily basis use processed corn and soy as fillers. And when our diets consist of these things, these processed foods, they lead to major health problems. Over half of American adults are considered overweight. And there are implications that come with that, such as heart disease and diabetes. Our government's tried to prevent some of these foods from getting to us, but they just haven't had a ton of luck. They've tried to increase the taxes on junk food. They've also tried to prevent things like food stamps to be able to be used on soda and other unnecessary, unhealthy items. The government knows that these foods are not good for us, and they've tried to either remove or discourage them legally, but the American people just won't have it. So, but when we make our own food, we know that processed supplements won't be in there unless we put them in there ourselves. So not only will the food that you make be better for you, but it will taste better if we know how to cook, which is one of the reasons why we should be taught how to cook. So those are some of the health-related reasons as why cooking should be more emphasized. But now I'll tell you some of the financial reasons. When you cook at home, you can save a significant amount of money. The average American eats out roughly 4 times a week. The average cost of a meal is $13. But if you take into consideration time and labor, it's $15. However, if you cook at home, the meal costs $4. If you take into consideration there time and labor, it's $9. No matter what way you slice it up, you'll be saving money. So if we take the costs that don't include time and labor, that's a saving of $9 per meal. If we would place 3 of our 4 meals out a week with a home cooked meal for a year, that's $1,400 in savings. The average income in America is $52,000, which means that we waste about 2.7% of our money on greasy bags of Burger King and Taco Bell. But now that we know how to save a quick buck, let me tell you how cooking at home can affect your family. When we cook at home, we encourage those who live with us to eat together and enjoy one another. Not only is spending time with each other, not only are we spending time with each other when we eat, but we also these actions that we do, they have major impacts, and the impact is significant. Teenagers are less likely to show signs of depression. They're less likely to abuse alcohol and drugs, and they're less likely to perform delinquent acts such as vandalism or violence. And these are stated within the Journal of Marriage and Family. But not only does eating together as a family prevent negative elements of life, such as the depression and the substance abuse, but it also promotes positive ones. Eating together is a great way to build stronger relationships. We take time out of our days to nourish ourselves every day, and we might as well make it an opportunity to socialize with those around us in our community. So, in conclusion, I hope that I have persuaded you that cooking at home allows you to control what's in your food, that you can save money when you cook at home, and that it promotes a stronger family connection. Cooking at home would not be possible if we're not taught how to do so. This is why I believe that cooking at home should be taught at our schools and in our homes. So I'll leave you with this old English proverb: give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man a fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime.
Picture this. You've just recently gotten a puppy. You had it maybe 2 weeks when you received the news that you would be having a baby. You have to make the decision. Find a new home for the puppy, or raise the child and the puppy. People often give up pets or don't get pets because of their kids. There are many reasons for this, ranging from thoughts that the pet may be too much trouble or the pet could pose a risk to the health of the child. Many of us may someday be faced with a decision similar to this, or may know someone now or in the future who will deal with a situation such as this. It is something that we should be thinking about. I have a lot of experience with a subject like this. There has never been a period in my life where I have not had an animal, and I have had over 25 pets in my lifetime. Besides this, much of my information comes from sources such as Time Magazine, the New York Times, and the Washington Post. Today I will speak to you about why children should be raised with animals, and I will share with you some of the reasons why people either get rid of their animals or choose not to have pets with their kids, the benefits, the health benefits of having a pet, and how a pet can benefit a child's character. So there are two common reasons why people choose not to have pets when they have kids. The first is that they believe that it would be too hard to try to raise a child and take care of an animal. If the animal is young, there can be problems with clawing or chewing. They haven't quite learned what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, and the chewing and scratching and similar acts can be destructive and can take some time and patience to remedy. There's also the issue of potty training if the animal is kept inside. There will of course be messes and training needs to take place, and this too will take time and patience. Another thing that can affect pets of all ages is jealousy. The pet will not receive as much attention, and people believe that this can cause some bad feelings between the pet and the child and can cause some behavior issues in the animal. Another reason people give for choosing not to have a pet is that they believe that there may be health risks involved in it. They believe that their pet may play too rough with the child and they could become hurt. And they also believe that the animals can be carriers to germs that can harm the child. So these reasons have little merit, and the benefits of raising children with pets far outweigh any of the disadvantages. Raising your child with pets actually gives the children a better immune system. A study was conducted in Finland over a period of 3 years that followed 397 children from 9 weeks until the age of 1. The study showed that those children with dogs were healthier, had fewer ear infections, and had less of a need for antibiotics. Researchers say that exposure to dirt and bacteria, things that animals carry, early in life can help to build up the children's immune system. Another study with mice has also shown that exposure to dust from homes with dogs decreased the risk of developing a respiratory virus that is linked with asthma. You see, babies' immune systems are at an important period in the first year of life, and exposure to low doses of germs that animals can carry can increase their immune system. And evidence has shown that early exposure is the most beneficial in building up the immune system. So besides the physical benefits, pets also provide many emotional health benefits. Psychologists at Oregon State University have conducted research with preschoolers that shows that caring for an animal can help build social skills. The children were more cooperative and more likely to share. Pets also help to reduce stress and anxiety. The National Childhood Grief Institute looked at the blood pressure of children and dogs as children petted the dogs and found that their blood pressure in both the dog and the child were lowered during this interaction. Besides the positive influence the animals can have on the health of children, pets can also help to build a child's character and instill in them certain values. Caring for an animal can help to children's empathy. Research done by psychologist Robert Presky from Kansas State University has shown the link between higher empathy scores and attachment to a pet. Having a pet can also help build responsibility, giving the child tasks and expectations of how those tasks should be completed, and holding them accountable for those tasks helps to build responsibility. Confidence is also learned in the same way. By giving the children these tasks and having them complete them successfully gives them confidence in their actions and their abilities. Pets also help to foster patience. Animals require a lot of patience, and they can be stubborn and strong-willed. If the child is old enough and the pet is young enough, the child can help to train the pet. Besides this, the child can build patience in everyday interactions and playing with the animal. The pet will rarely do what the child wants when they want it, and it will give the children practice in being patient and understanding with the animal. So today I have shared with you some reasons why people choose not to have a pet with their children, the health benefits of having a pet, and how pets can help build a child's character. My siblings and I have been raised around animals our whole lives, and I have benefited from this experience and have seen firsthand the positive impacts that a pet can have on a child. Raising children around pets is extremely beneficial and is something that everyone should take into serious consideration. Also, if you don't like doctor's offices or bills, a pet just might help you avoid them.
Engineering, medical sciences, accounting. What do they all have in common? They all require difficult courses that are packed into a time, half of that which students at other similar schools get to complete them. We're all required to take difficult courses no matter what we are majoring in, and I know we all have that one or those two courses which we just wish we had more time to complete. I have resources from the Mayo Clinic, the School of Education at Johns Hopkins University, and the Journal of Economics and Finance Education, as well as personal experience while taking intermediate accounting. I'm going to talk about the effects of stress on students and the effects of shorter classes on comprehension and retention of material taught, and why we should have some 16-week courses here for those more difficult courses. With shorter classes such as this, there's no break needed. We get shorter classes with those 16 weeks to complete them. You would just chop the day in half and spread it out over the time. This means students would be able to keep attention on the prof or whatever is going on in class, and they'd be able to stay engaged for the whole time, as opposed to, I know as we all do, zone out part of the way through or start to fall asleep as the prof goes on and on for 2.5 hours. If you miss one class, as I know people get sick and family situations happen, it's less difficult to recover if you just miss one class that's an hour, as opposed to one class that's 2.5 hours long. You miss less material and it's easier to recover and learn on your own what has been taught in class. The material that's taught is also easier to understand, because if you keep the same sort of format where you have one class every about 3 days, then that means that you have 3 days to understand 1 hour's worth of material instead of 2.5 hours worth of material, as is normally the case. You have more time to cover a chapter in a book. You would get twice the amount of time to cover, and you're not as stressed because you don't have to move as quickly through the book or whatnot you're covering. This means more time between exams, more time to study, more time for homework, and more time to sleep. There's no need for students to suffer by having excessive 8-week courses, and we need to make a change. A study was done on over 45,000 students by two people named Adrian Austin and Leland Gustafson, and they propose that grades do improve during shorter session times, such as 3, 4, and 8-week courses. They say, having found evidence of significant increases in summer grades over the regular semesters, we now ask if these increases reflect an actual increase in learning. To examine this proposition, we look at the performance of students in classes with prerequisites. However, these courses being studied are the sorts of courses that we already take in the 8-week format. Introductory courses, courses that are required for all or most of the students in a particular major. These are courses such as Accounting Principles 1 and 2, Microeconomics and Macroeconomics, College Algebra, Survey of Calculus, and Spanish 3 and 4. These are the easy classes. And so I'm asking what happens when students begin to take courses intended to take full advantage of the 16 weeks that are provided in the semester. Will they begin to become overwhelmed or consumed? Will they just coast along, hoping to get a better grasp on it at some other time? I know many students, whether they be classmates, hallmates, or whatnot, who take their own time to watch YouTube video lectures and read online about the thing that they are studying in class. Now, this is not because the professor is not covering it well, or because they would like to know more. Rather, this is just to be able to complete the homework. They are finding themselves unable to retain the 2.5 hours of lecture that they sit through and aren't able to take superb notes, meaning that they find themselves unable to keep up with the breakneck pace that is induced with having only 8 weeks. I have personal experience in one such course, Intermediate Accounting. Now, I don't think that it is nearly as bad as pretty much any of the horror stories make it out to be. That does not mean that it is not challenging. We have an exam over 2 chapters, approximately once every week to week and a half. We have individual and group homework due almost every class, and each of those takes at least 2 hours, with them sometimes taking as much as 10 or 12 hours to finish. So yes, it does tend to get stressful at times, and I know classmates who are trying to balance 2 other classes that are at least moderately difficult and sometimes require a lot of work to go along with them. Now, the effects of stress are headaches, fatigue, upset stomachs, sleeping problems, anxiety, restlessness, lack of motivation or focus, feeling overwhelmed, irritability or anger, and sadness or depression. Victoria Tennant, who wrote for the School of Education at Johns Hopkins University, said that it's normal to have a touch of apprehension and butterflies in the stomach before a test. This is the positive side of the stress curve that actually enhances performance. However, when the anxiety gets out of control and crosses to the other side of the curve, performance plummets. Now, I think that this is normally the case with the 8-week courses that are more strenuous. You have a lot of homework, you have a lot of lectures, exams, and whatnot. You have to read whole books, multiple books, within the allotted 8 weeks. I know one of my current roommates last year had to take a course where he had to read 5 or 6 books during 8 weeks. Now that's almost a book a week. That can be strenuous, not to mention the homework that he had to do on top of that for that and other courses. So I believe that we should consider at least lengthening courses to be 16 weeks, or at least just some of the courses. Today I talked about how if Grace were to institute some 16-week classes, it would lead to less stress on students and staff, would make the material easier to understand, and would lead to shorter classes, all of which would be highly beneficial in keeping students engaged and motivated in their learning. Imagine, shorter classes, more time between exams, an easier and less stressful life.
Okay, for as long as I can possibly remember, I have had a love for dark chocolate. I like the bitterness of it. It's really good in general. But I've always wondered the health benefits until recently. So today I want to share with you the health benefits of dark chocolate. I want to talk about where chocolate in general comes from, the antioxidants and nutritional value in dark chocolate, how it can give you healthier skin and teeth, and less anxiety and a more effective workout. My sources are from webmd.com, authoritynutrition.com, and rodellsorganiclife.com. Even though some of you may not like dark chocolate, hopefully this information can benefit you to actually try it and see the changes for yourself. I want to start with where it comes from. Chocolate in general comes from the cacao tree in South America. The tree comes in like these little pods like this big. They're shaped like almonds with the white inside. They produce 20 to 30 pods at one time in a span of 4 to 6 months. Dark chocolate is, in other countries other than America, is based off from that cacao tree. Now that you know where it's from, where it comes from, I'm going to tell you where, like, the nutritional value of it. So, dark chocolate contains 11 grams of fiber. 67% of it is iron, 58% of it is magnesium, 89% copper, 98 manganese, and it has plenty of potassium, phosphorus, zinc, and selenium. Dark chocolate contains a lot of organic compounds to give us energy, and those organic compounds function as antioxidants. Because it has such a high antioxidant activity, it has more antioxidants compared to blueberries and acai berries. Now that you know about the nutritional value in dark chocolate, I'm going to tell you about the effects it has on your skin and teeth. For me, this is a big deal because I take care of my skin and my teeth very lightly. I don't take it very lightly. Since dark chocolate, okay, so there's these things called flavonols in dark chocolate that protects our skin from sun-induced damage, increases the blood flow in our skin, and increases skin density and hydration. Just by eating chocolate alone, plus other food, but mainly chocolate, dark chocolate, for 12 weeks straight, it reduces the moisture loss in the skin by 25% and gives you fewer sunburns. A study was shown, a group of 12 women were split into two. One group had to eat milk chocolate, and then the other group dark chocolate. For a span of 12 weeks. After 12 weeks passed, the group of women who ate dark chocolate, it showed that they had higher UV protection compared to the women who ate milk chocolate, did not have any UV protection at all. For our teeth, since there's sugar in candy in general, chocolate candy in general, the cocoa that's in chocolate candy actually protects our teeth. Since the cocoa bean husk that comes from the chocolate contains antibacterial compounds that inhibit the formation of plaque and biofilms where cavity-causing bacteria can thrive. Now that you know what it can do to your skin, teeth, we're going to talk about anxiety. So our body, stress prompts our body to produce cortisol fat that builds up in our organs that can contribute to depression along with health disease and stroke. Rodell's Organic Life stated a 2009 study found that people who ate 40 grams of chocolate, which equates to 1 ounce every day for 2 weeks, they saw a decrease in levels of cortisol in their systems. They ended up being 10% more calmer than they were when they first started the study. And lastly, I want to end with the benefit of how dark chocolate can affect your workout. A lot of us work out, and it boosts your pre-exercise energy levels. It gives you more energy before you start your workout. You can power through a hard sweat session. It cuts down on your post-workout soreness, so after you're done, you won't be as sore as you normally are. Since it contains 2 types of antioxidants, it increases your muscles' absorption of nutrients that creates the energy we need to work out. So today we talked about dark chocolate, where chocolate comes from, and the health benefits, which was how nutritious it is. It gives us healthier teeth and skin, lowers anxiety levels, and gives you a more effective workout. I'm not telling you to actually like dark chocolate because of these benefits if you don't like it in general. If you don't like it, that's your preference. But if you know someone who actually do like it, give them this information. But if you want to, actually give it a try and take the chance and see the benefits for yourself.
Thank you.